You have to be okay with being prompted and prompting. What's good, y'all? Money Appleton. This is part 3 of the Silent Household Conversations. Clearly, this is not a silent household. If you have a couple of minutes, I have a couple of messages. All right, at the end of the other video, I was talking about prompting your spouse to speak. We have to be okay with admitting we have a deficiency. We have to be okay with admitting I need help. We have to be okay with receiving help from our spouses. We have to know that no one is right and no one is wrong. We're just trying to figure this out. How do we function? How can this be a healthy environment? I don't care about all this out here. I don't care about the life I lived before you. What's necessary for us to be okay? And in that, you have to be okay with being redirected and prompted to improve. And you don't want to be overbearing, so you have to gauge it like, okay, am I constantly redirecting? I don't want to say correcting, but redirecting. We had a conversation, you said this is the direction we want to move in, but typically the conversation is had because one person in the group was like, this is the new direction that I think we should move in. Everybody else in the group is like, okay, we're down. But it's only that one person who's like trying to encourage everyone to move in that direction until everybody else gets on board. So that one person has to be mindful of how often they're redirecting or correcting, which is kind of, but redirecting people. Because too much redirection, you're gonna run into resistance, be like, stop trying to always tell me what to do. So it's a tap dance or a catwalk or a tightrope. Yeah, it's a tightrope walk. That hand is working this morning, ain't it? But yes, if you have a deficiency and you're trying to move away from a space, then be okay with being redirected. And so when the mom was always picking up the dad's slack, you're allowing the dad the space to remain in a space that is not serving the family. So stop speaking for your husband or for your boyfriend. Prompt him to speak. Husband, boyfriend, be okay with being reminded, oh yeah, I'm supposed to engage. That's the only way your child is going to learn to have a conversation. And if you have a teen who now you're trying to introduce, okay, we're going to start having these conversations because you need to learn how to speak. Tell them how it's going to benefit them. Hey son, I know you're not used to sitting down and talking to me. I know you're just used to grumbling at me and saying, yeah, whatever, but we need to have a conversation. And we don't need to just run our mouths, even though there's a space for that because me and Dre go back and forth about dumb stuff all the time. But if you actually pay attention to dumb stuff that we're talking about is actually intellectual conversation as well. Last night we were talking about all kinds of crazy stuff in relation to the lyrics of the songs we were listening to. In that respect, we bridged both of our communication styles. Meaningful conversations and random conversations. So what if you have a teenager who doesn't want to speak? What's good, y'all? Money Appleton. If you have a couple of minutes, I have a couple of messages. This is part 4 of a silent household. Who knew that this topic was so robust? If you haven't spoken to your kid up until this point and you want to start now, and this is son or daughter, but girls usually know how to run their mouth, but you have to learn how to have value conversation. Like I said in the previous video, you want to come to them and say, this is how this is going to benefit you. Not this is something that I want. This is something that will benefit you. You'll be able to wrap the ladies up because you're going to be able to have conversations. You're going to know how to engage the ladies, so this is what's going to benefit you. So son, let's go to dinner because you want to teach him how to treat a woman. Let's go to dinner. If he's old enough, he's going to pay. And you're going to start teaching him how to speak to a female, which is pretty much sitting and talking. So then women will stop complaining about men who don't know how to talk because you taught your son how to talk. Ideally, you start when they're young. If they can speak, you're speaking to them. The best thing that kids do is ask why. Why? And we shut them down because we're just like, okay, I can only answer why so many dang times. Cut it out. But that exploratory nature of them is them trying to engage in conversations. Go down the rabbit hole with them. That's how you're encouraging them to use their brain. You're encouraging them to think. When you shut them down, you're teaching them to shut down. So then when their spouse comes to them and they're trying to encourage them to think and to evolve from the space that they're in, they're going to do what they've been taught from day one. You shut them down, so they're shutting down. So just be aware of that. And then yes, value silence, value speaking. It's okay to just sit next to each other and do nothing. I know a lot of people look at me and Dre when we're sitting next to each other and we're both on our phones and society says, oh my gosh, they're not engaging with each other because they're on their phone. Me and Dre can sit next to each other and still be having a conversation and communing in the energy with each other and just vibing out. We'll look at our phones and, we're sharing, look at this, and we're sharing what's on our phone and things going on, and we'll stop and go into conversations, pick back up on conversations. Different things are happening even though we're both looking at our phone. So we have to make sure, are we looking at our phones as a distraction from the person that we're with? Or are we engaging with our phone and with the person? That one's kind of touchy, but I can just speak from our personal experience. Me and Dre vibe in silence. We don't always have to be running our mouth. I hate running my mouth. It may not seem that way, but running your mouth just to hear yourself speak versus saying something that means something are two different things. I talk a lot, but I'm saying something. There's a difference. I think we got some stuff covered here. I think I gave some solutions, didn't I? Have some valuable conversations with your children so they grow up to be people who speak. I'm having a very, very bad day. What's good, y'all? Lonnie Appleton. If you have a couple of minutes, I have a couple of messages. Y'all need to stop looking up my nose. You want to look down on my nose? Let's talk having a bad moment versus having a very, very bad day. I didn't understand it before, but happy wife, happy life. And I think a lot of households are struggling because of this submission misunderstanding. Yes, there is a grave misunderstanding taking place with submission, which I will address next. I've come to a space where I realize my energy kind of dictates what goes on in the house. Mom's okay, house is okay. Mom's in a bad mood, everybody's tiptoeing around mom. Everybody's gauging how mom's doing so they could figure out how they doing. They're matching my energy. And in that respect, I have to be consciously aware of my energy. When I was a kid, I would be pissed off in the morning by somebody, and by that night, anybody that came in contact with me, they felt the pissed off that I felt in the morning. I didn't know how to control my emotions. I was like, oh, we're having a bad day? And I had a bad day. I made up in my mind it's a bad day. Now I'm evolved enough to know moment to moment. I need to constantly work on hitting reset. Reset, 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 reset. Because you can't stay in a space too long. Remember, we have to maintain our vibration at all times. If we want to live the life that we choose to live, desire, because we are living the life that we choose to live. We chose this. If we want to live the life that we desire to live, future tense, we create that now, present tense. And if we're constantly having bad days instead of a messed up moment, then we are setting our vibration on staying here now instead of elevating our vibration to get to where we're trying to go. So you have to constantly hit reset and say, okay, yeah, that was a bad moment, but let's get back to where we need to be. Do whatever you need to do to get yourself back up. If it's force a smile, go look in the mirror, laugh hysterically for no reason, go watch a funny cat video. Whatever you need to do to raise your vibration back up, do it.